Defining what it is we're talking about here. So I'll tell you what I think we're talking about, and then this, based on any clues that you picked up from Michael, um, like the clue that I picked up is that we're to pick a conflict in the chart. In other words, it can be a conjunction, it can be a square in opposition. Those are generally conflicted aspects. There I become a little bit fuzzy as to what it is he wants us to do. Um, One option is that how can this apparent conflict be turned into positive conscious development? Another might be, I think it's really all the same. It's all about somehow contacting the soul, contacting intuition in order to make us switch between the suffering that's going to be occurring in the personality life. That sound good? Is this anything I'm missing? Do you think that's what we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, to talk about it would stimulate development of the soul.
Yeah, I think so. All right. So let's just begin with you picking one of the many options of your chart in terms of conflict.
Yeah, there's certainly one.
Yeah.
Moon opposed Uranus.
Good. I have that in my chart.
All right.
All right. So you have it running between 4 and 11. And the moon is in the 4th, but it is close enough from my standpoint to the 5th house to be said to be ruling it, because a planet when it's within 3 degrees of a house is said to have a greater influence in that house than the one that's in. Yep. And I have found that to be true in my own experience as an astrologer. So essentially, this is the principle of chaos in one's emotional, relational life on a personality level.
Sure.
This is the sense that life has from the very beginning been crazy. It's like in mine, to use as an example, we talked earlier about when I was born, there was a tornado within 2 miles of the hospital in which I was born. Therefore, the social environment in which I was in was highly chaotic. But my mother was also defined by the medical establishment as clinically insane. So I was raised in an environment in which I never knew what to expect. So in some ways, that's the environment. On some level, that's the environment in which you were raised in. There therefore is an expectation in your relationships that it's always going to be changing, shifting and changing. It's never going to be what it is you think it is. It's always going to be whatever it is. And that's either exciting or stressful.
Let me add something.
Yeah.
When I was born, I created the chaos.
Yeah.
And the nuns carried me on their hip for 2 weeks, all night, every night, because I was born at night.
Yeah.
I wasn't quiet. I was waking all the other kids up.
Yeah.
So they just took care of me. And 5 years later, when my sister was born, they still remembered me.
That's right. Exactly.
So it might work both ways.
You're
create a lot of chaos for people.
Switch it, yes. All right. I actually have a mic. So the person I'm talking to, which in this instance is you, you now have a mic, and I will try and remember to have each of you, when I'm talking to you, hold this mic.
All right.
So, yes, it works both ways, because you have to either play the moon, which is a kind of fixed set of expectations, and have someone else play that Uranian explosion of unplanned for, exciting, stressful awareness, or the other way around. So, at the core of that, what's trying to emerge is the ability to be present without expectations, to simply accept everything as it is, to see in the moment that which is happening being a reflection of some inner pattern that has always been there. Therefore, it's said in astrology that the moon Uranus makes a most natural and convincing astrologer.
Okay.
Because you see the pattern first emerging within yourself. You understand your own chart. Someone gave you a reading, whatever it was. That emerges then into a curiosity about how others are similarly constructed. You're taking your own gut intuition into an understanding of the great archetypes of the constellations and planets.
Yeah, you have studied this, haven't you?
That's right. So your service to others then, as a soul, is to allow people to make very rapid transitions, because you can stand with them wherever it is that you're at and give them very clear, succinct understandings of the next step or the next truer pattern for them to be in.
I think my motto is the only thing that's important is your next step.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
No, that's what I tell people.
Yeah, I'm sure
Don't worry about
yeah.
what you're going to project down the line. Don't
That's
worry
right.
about this
Yeah,
initiation
exactly.
or that. The only thing that counts is the next step,
Yeah.
because that's how you get to the step
That's
after
right.
that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Now you weren't here as we were figuring out what we were doing. But what we concluded that we were doing was that you look in your chart and you see either a square, a conjunction, or an opposition between two planets. We know that on a personality level, that's where you're going to suffer. But we're going to say, under the influence of the soul, under the influence of intuition, there's a way in which that suffering point is a part of your own service. Your service to others because of what is revealed through that conflict. So is there something that stands out in your mind, in your chart, that goes, yeah, I really suffer well here? What would you pick, Des? Yeah, you hold
Oh, yeah,
this now.
sorry about that.
Thank you.
I don't even know how to accurately read the chart.
Yeah. All right.
So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
The second thing is that the chart itself, I have 3 charts in here.
Yeah.
And
All right, so
knowing
the
which
first
one,
challenge could be
yes.
surmounted by me just picking one.
Okay, I'm just going to pick the one that is on top.
Right.
Okay.
So this is your chart, and the way that it's set up is that this inside circle is your natal chart. And so an astrologer is usually looking at that in the reading. And so I'll try and pick something different from you. But there is some similarity. I'll pick the moon, or rather Mars opposing Uranus. That is what I'm going to. No. I should put on my glasses. That would just help a whole lot. Yeah, that's right. Yes, not correct what I was saying. All right, so it looks like Pluto is no, that's not true. All right, let's try something else. There is a square between Mars and Neptune. Let's do that. All right, so on the level of suffering, this is having a kind of internal stop-go. In other words, Mars is the planet of desire. It can be anything. This is just our personalities with all of their various desires built into them. That I want this. I'm about to do this. This is what's going to happen. And that's how we learn. All that is just how we progress. But what happens to you is as soon as that gets activated, as soon as you're really getting revved up, and maybe you've even taken the first few steps, maybe you're into it, you can see that you're about to get fulfillment of your desire, whatever it is. Immediately Neptune intervenes, and you go, do I want that? You know, is that idealistic enough? Is that meaningful enough? Is that spiritual enough? Is that creative enough? And then it goes into a, maybe I won't. Maybe I shouldn't. And it's like waffling. And starting things, not finishing things. Creating confusion, both around yourself and around others. Now, one of the things I suggest everyone that has this in their chart is that they start on a real simple level. They either do yoga or Tai Chi or something like this, because it teaches you to stand on center and then be waffly. In other words, you're a spiritual warrior. But the two things have to be grounded. The simple, the body, I'm in my body, I'm in my desires, they're okay. And I have a spiritual training, a way that governs my physical, my emotional, my mental, so that I'm able to put all of my energy into my ideals and know that I'm grounded enough so that I can make it happen and be satisfied with what it is that I've gotten out of it or what I've given in it.
To a very large extent, you actually summarize part of who I am, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I've always tried, because trying to sit down and study astrology by yourself can be challenging, but trying to study the rays.
Yeah, it's virtually hopeless.
Exactly. So
you need a group.
Put myself in almost all the rays that are there.
Yeah, exactly.
At a certain time, I see myself in a particular area and say, no, I couldn't have been that, right?
That's right.
Now, going back to what you just analyzed now,
you see, this manifests on a mental level, not just on an emotional and physical level.
And that's the challenge of the race again, right? So, am I focusing on the personality aspect of the race, or am I actually picking one of the vehicles of the personality itself?
Yeah.
Right. So, anyway, I think I've had a lot of things I started. Just like you said, as you said, it's midway, or where you think. Anyway, so many things abruptly stop. You're thinking that no, this is not the best way to go. It's like you said, that's what I try to identify to some extent, especially in the mental level with the third ray. That's just scattering energy kind of thing. And it's okay if I demonstrate that much of the negative aspect of it. Where is the positive aspect of it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but this is it. This is part of this is you can be all over the place with Mars and Neptune. But if you watch a master of Tai Chi, he's all over the place. But you're seeing that he's really just in one place. And that's what you're trying to do. This is what I'm trying to get you to do, is to maintain that sense of, I understand purpose. Therefore, I can extend myself into all these areas appropriately without my over-enthusiasms, which always lead to disillusionment and then dropping it. It's like if the Tai Chi master stopped before a particular movement was finished. It's a wonderful thing. One of the hypothetical charts of Jesus, not the one that was put up today, but another one that I really love. Jesus had this in his chart, in that chart. because it displayed this kind of transcendence of the personality. But as we all know, there's a lot of disillusion that's before that occurs.
Okay. Thank you so much. I will need more information on this anyway. So.
I have Mars squaring Sun conjunct South Node conjunct Pluto.
Right. Let's just stay with the Sun. You keep that. Let's just stay with the Sun squaring Mars.
That's enough.
That's enough. That's right. Although you and I identify as fully similar in the rest of it. So, a basic tug-of-war between two aspects of the self. The personality, just the pure personality, Mars, I have desires, I have things I want to achieve, I'm going to do this. And then it's in a way quite similar to this Mars-Neptune. The Sun and Neptune are rather similar. The Sun veils Neptune,
Mm-hmm.
The Christ symbolized by Neptune is the Son of God. There's a lot of similarities going on here. And so there's a tension between the conscious part of you and the unconscious part of you. We have the enlightened personality and the unenlightened personality. And so the trip up is the times when you think that you're being conscious, but you've sort of taken your eye off of some of that rebellious, I want it to turn out a certain way. You skew the outcome of your creative project, or really you're the creative project. You skew that because you're not completely bringing the two together.
More than skew, I would say attack that.
That's right. It's like an internal attack process, almost
Right.
like your own immune system is out of
Right.
whack.
Right.
But, the outcome when it's together is success in life, and that's success on a consciousness level. This drives you to fulfillment. It drives you to release the potential within your soul, within your personhood, your true personhood as a soul rather than a personality. And so, you inspire people because you're willing to give your all. You put all of your energy behind self-expression, which is, of course, selflessness.
That's a very sweet way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that greatly.
You're welcome.
I haven't experienced that, but I think it is a process I undergo.
But
frequently.
it is your work. You work with peace. You work with women who are emissaries of peace in their own particular countries and community. You couldn't be doing that unless you were modeling that energy. That's a war you've got inside of you, Mars and the Sun.
Mm-hmm.
You're bringing peace within yourself because Mars is the god of war.
But it's in Libra.
Yeah, which is
For me,
it's a
it's in
very
Libra.
dangerous warrior. in I can't remember whether it's China or Japan. Libra is associated with war.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yes. Dalai Lama has it, so I don't feel
Yeah,
too
that's
bad.
right. Exactly. That's right.
Thank you, Lawson.
Which one are you going to pick today?
I've been thinking about this maybe conflict between my rising sign and the moon and the sun.
All right. So you've got the moon and the sun conjunct. Is that what you have? No. You've got moon. Got my glasses. Yep. Moon and sun conjunct. And a square to the ascendant. I'd rather do it as a square to a planet rather than... So,
But I've always wondered about what the challenge is.
all right. Well, we'll stay with that. All right. So You've got the mic, yes. So, again, through the ascendant, you have the soul sounding its note for the life. And the sun is its vehicle of expression. This is the personality in this incarnation that the soul is working with. So it sets up a very dynamic tension between the two. You know, a kind of oscillation back and forth, where you hear the note, but then you forget about it. You know, so like, you hear the note, you go, all right, I got it. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm supposed to be. But in that sense of self, you know, whatever level you're focusing on self from the personality standpoint, it grabs the ball and it runs in what it thinks would be a good expression from that, and learns over and over and over again that it's not really heard the note, or it's not able to quite find a good form for it to express in. But that kind of tension is considered astrologically, at least from our esoteric standpoint, to be a very good tension, like squares always are. It's relentless. I mean, here you are, a young man, still driven by this conflict that's here. You know? So it's going to work on you till the last breath. Yeah, you're going to feel frustrated the whole time, you know, but you're getting closer and closer, inch by inch.
It seems like every my environment and things around me,
Yeah.
and the signs that are around me that I have to deal with in my environment.
Yeah,
Push me to that.
that's right, exactly. You have your sun and moon both in the third house, and so that, you know, that is the daily immediate environment. That's what you're picking up in terms of what you're hearing people talking about, and it's also what you're hearing going on in your own head and your desire to somehow communicate that to other people. And you know, so what the soul is trying to say is that, can you hear me? Can you hear me? So that when you're talking, you're expressing that purpose. You're talking about that purpose. You're clear about what the purpose of the life is, and therefore inspire other people to talk about, think about what their purpose is. It comes back to what we talked about many other years, your role as an educator as you go through your day. That's not necessarily formal classes, just as you go through your day.
Yeah, it's pretty sensible.
Yeah. So, which one would you like? Do you know which one to focus on?
Saturn.
Saturn, and what else? What shall we put Saturn with? Anything. All right. I love Saturn too, so yeah, I'm perfectly happy with that choice. So you have Saturn in the fourth, but ruling the fifth house of your chart, and it is squared Pluto. It's like that's the most dynamic conflict that it produces. All right, so
Lawson, excuse me first. I don't understand exactly what is conjunction.
all
what is
right,
triangle,
yes.
square.
A conjunction means the planets are so close together that they are continuously in a process of fusion. It's like they're just a tremendous amount of steam and energy because they're trying to blend and become something new. A square, which is what we're talking about here, is a dynamic inner tension. They are not so close to be having any constant impetus to fusion, but there is this kind of stop-go friction that's being created as they interact with each other, and will eventually get to that place where they are like a conjunction fusing. So you have then a conflict which is really just a conflict of letting go and trusting. Yeah? So it's sort of like early in the life circumstances seem to put you in situations where the option is, would you like to jump off the cliff? Now, that's very frightening. Who would want to jump off the cliff? But life will keep offering you this option until eventually you get to the place where you say, fine, I'm ready. Now, of course, a person who's wearing a parachute will readily jump off a cliff immediately. So your task is to learn how to operate a parachute and have one on hand at all times. So the parachute is really defined by Saturn in the 4th and 5th houses. In the 4th house, your parachute is to feel really grounded. You know, like, I know where I've come from. I've gone through my psychotherapy. I've addressed my childhood issues, my original family. That's my parachute. Yep. My home is inside me. The past is over. I learned a lot from it. Bless you, Mother and Father, for all that you taught me. Or, in the 5th house, your parachute is, you have found that creative center inside yourself. You know, where you're dynamically, vibrantly self-expressive and creative. And you've done the hard work of developing a skill base so that you can prove it. So you have to develop these 2 parachutes. Then you can happily jump off the cliffs of your life.
Thousands of parachutes, thousands.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It was fun. It was lovely being with you.
You have a couple of minutes.
Yes.
What were you going to say on this?
Yes.
You were going to pick something.
What's that?
You were gonna
If
say
I was to pick something? Right. Well, I was always going to come back to this lovely set of squares there between the moon and Jupiter and Saturn, the sun and Jupiter and Saturn. I could pick any of that. But of course, that is so related to the one that you wanted me to talk about, and we did talk about. You know, it's sort of like if we wanted to put this in that kind of parachute analogy, we'd say that you have, in order to really be able to do that, you have to do all this work of building the parachute, and it's about relationships. It's about your relationships with other people. So, yeah. 2 minutes. 2 minutes for loving appreciation, yes.
Would you say something just in general about squares and trines? I've heard that sometimes trines are more problematic
That's right.
than squares.
Trines are more, and the same is true of sextiles. They used to be regarded as the good guys in astrology. Now they're regarded as not. I think that can be overdone because, of course, what they represent is the fact that if we could trace our accomplishments in other lives, we'd find that those trines and sextiles means that we made a lot of inroad in understanding these 2 planetary forces in relationship, in dynamic, conflicted relationship, and now we have sort of an easy access in understanding and working with them. The reason why they're problematical from a spiritual standpoint is because we tend to be lazy. We tend to just use them, not creatively, but to make our personality lives more comfortable. Yeah.
I mean, when you're starting to do that,
Yeah.
you have to expect the opposite.
Sure, absolutely. That's right.
And there is an opposite.
Yeah,
here.
that's right, exactly. Too much sliding along on comfort leads to some pretty difficult times up ahead. Yeah, that's right. Up ahead, whether it's this lifetime or another. Yeah.
you.